So my name's Dan Clifford, and I was born with a very rare genetic skin condition called epidermolysis bullosa, or it's more commonly known as EB, or cotton wool babies. And basically, it's a very rare genetic skin condition. We're talking about 700 people in Australia, give or take. It can be very mild, from sort of a skin irritation to a sunburn where you can just cover up and apply creams, through to myself, which has one of the most severe forms of EB, and it's a genetic skin condition. So basically what that means is I was born with skin that can't handle everyday life. My skin has the strength and the consistency basically of tissue paper. So walking outside on the grass, that would be too traumatic for the skin on the soles of my feet. Opening a bottle of drink, that's too difficult to manage. Basically, eating can be difficult at times. Breathing, you name it, every single part of life is affected by my skin. From my point of view, it's not a matter of avoiding obstacles or avoiding activities, because just being alive, my skin is going to get irritated. So I'm a very unique case in the sense that most of the time, most babies that are born with EB, their skin is traumatized just by being born. It's something that you're aware of as parents, that you have the genetic trait that will give you a chance of having a baby with EB. Most of the time, it's something that parents and families have no idea. It's in their history and their sort of genes until a baby like myself is born. And I was pretty early on very lucky that the doctor in the hospital where I was born had heard of my skin condition EB and had suggested that I may have this very rare genetic skin condition, and the outlook wasn't great at all. It was sort of predicted then that I'd pass away very early on. I had a life expectancy of about 2 to 2.5 when I was born. And then it took another 12 months to be properly diagnosed as, in fact, having one of the most severe forms of EB. And from then on, by that stage, my skin had been completely consumed all across my face and my back, and most of my body had been ulcerated and sort of damaged by EB. Growing up was really difficult because medically wise, nobody had any idea what was happening to my skin or what was going to happen. So my family and I really just focused on getting by every single day as best we could. Mum and Dad had to learn how to apply my bandages and how to treat my skin as best as we could, because the normal routine ways in hospitals don't work with my skin. My skin pretty much does the exact opposite to everything else. We use a lot of the treatments that a burns victim would use, or somebody that has a burns wound, but my skin reacts almost the exact opposite way. in the sense that most of the time a burn is trying to repair itself and trying to heal, whereas my skin is trying to do the opposite and trying to break down and basically disintegrate. But medically wise, there was no other treatment other than just using the same sort of treatment that burns people and other conditions were using. So we sort of adapted that and worked out every single day what we needed to do to get the best out of my skin. Everything from bandaging my hand a particular way so it doesn't irritate other parts of my hand, through to bandaging my feet, because it's kind of like a knife through butter. If you bandage my feet up too tight, then the bandage will just cut through the skin. If you bandage it too loose and have it too not firm enough or not tight enough, then walking and everyday activities is kind of like walking on a cheese grater, and I'm just damaging my skin with every step. So it is very much a matter of just getting my skin and getting my treatment on a day-to-day basis, working out what's best, what needs to be done, and how that is usually just through trial and error, through my family and the support networks that I have in place. The operations and the medical side was always really difficult growing up. It was always something that I'd have to deal with on a regular basis. Because so little was known about my skin, the doctors and specialists were desperate to learn as much as they could about my skin, to learn how my skin was breaking down, how my skin was improving, to learn why I could kick a football one day and not kick a football the next day, and what was happening to my skin, to break it all down from a day-to-day routine. The doctors were desperate to learn as much as they could from a medical scientific point of view than from a day-to-day point of view. So dealing with the medical side was always challenging, because as a child, I didn't want to be in hospitals. I just wanted to live my life and take on board as much as I could, still aware that my life expectancy was never great. It was always very prominent and very in my face when I'd go to specialists and they'd pencil me down to come back in 6 months' time and sort of leave that sort of open-ended, well, hopefully you'll still be alive then, kind of comment at the end of the appointment. And you'd if it was a few years between doctor's appointments, you could see how visibly shocked the doctors and specialists were that I was still alive. So when the doctors used to say comments like that, or even people that I haven't seen in a long time sort of say comments that, oh, wow, you're still alive, or you're still here, I kind of take it as a badge of honour that I have overcome an enormous amount in my life. I'm 37 years old and I've lived more in those years than most people twice my age. So growing up was always difficult because of the morning routine I had to go through. It was always exhausting and tiring, so I'd have to space my day out to be able to rest enough and recuperate and sort of span my day out and plan things in advance. For as long as I can remember, I'd sort of plan my day as thoroughly as I could to know when I could have breaks and when I could have a rest and have an afternoon nap. And So from that point of view, I always sort of knew by my appearance that I was different, and my lifestyle and the way I'd organise things was sort of more thorough than anyone my age, because I always knew the consequences if I rushed things, and if I overdid things, my skin would react really dramatically. So to me, that was just normal lifestyle to plan things out. But then when I'd go out into the community or go out into the environment with family friends or other kids my age, you'd start to notice pretty early on. I think it was by the age of 3 or 4, I started, or even younger, might have been even 2. I started to notice that my appearance was drastically different to everybody else, and other family friends, their kids my age, would be scared to be around me because of the way my skin was, because of all the bandages, or because of the way my face was when I had no skin at all on my face. And then you'd go out into the community and people would be scared to come around me, which was always confusing as a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, why adults would be scared to be around me. But it sort of was something that I just learnt to understand, that my life and my skin was so different that people were curious, were alarmed. At times you could have a bit of fun with it, but it was always very obvious and very in your face that people were aware of me and sort of scared at times of the way my appearance was. Every single day, to get the best out of my skin and get the best out of my body, I have to go through basically a mini operation every morning to apply the bandages, to apply the creams, to fix an area that's starting to break down. And that can be as simple as just applying creams and bandages. It can be as complicated as using the tools of the trade that I have downstairs, which is a razor sharp scalpel and a needle, and I'll have to operate on myself and cut away at the dead skin and open up a wound so I can apply the creams and apply the bandages to hopefully enable a little bit of healing. So that's happened my entire life. Every day, doesn't matter if it's my birthday, if it's Christmas, if I've got to go to school, I've got to go to work, or whatever the case may be, I have to allow the appropriate time in the mornings to be able to get my skin working. So growing up, it was really difficult because it was something that my family used to struggle with. They didn't like to do all the procedures because they hated to inflict pain or inflict problems on me. So it was up to myself to do a lot of it, and it still is something that I prefer to do the bulk of it all myself. I couldn't go out and play as soon as I got out of bed. I couldn't jump out of bed and hit the ground running and play outside or do everything that all my cousins and all my relatives did. For me, I'd have to get up, go through that morning routine that could be incredibly painful at times, just to be able to then get on with my day and live the day that everybody takes for granted. Exercise these days is really important to my life. It's something that I make sure I allocate enough time towards But it wasn't always that case. My life was so fragile, and my life was on such a could go either way from good or bad for so long that I didn't push the boundaries exercising or movement wise. The pain was so intense that I'd take the easier option whenever I felt it was best. It probably became an important part around the year 2000 when I was selected to carry the Olympic torch in the Sydney Olympic Games. At that stage, I couldn't walk. Literally could not stand my body weight, couldn't stand on my feet. My feet couldn't handle my body weight. So we worked out upper body wise, I was really strong. My shoulders were really strong, and my ability to hold my weight with my upper body was phenomenal. Little bit by bit, within 6 months, I was able to walk the 650 metres with the Olympic torch, just using my walking stick to support myself. A lot of family friends had never seen me walk. Friends that we'd known for a long period of time had never seen me walk until that day with the Olympic torch. And that was all because of the hard work that I did at home by myself, just with a few friends and family guiding me, and a few trainers that I knew really well giving me their advice and their input. Jump ahead to today, and physically I'm stronger than most able-bodied people, stronger than most elite athletes. Things I'm able to do in the gym absolutely blow me away. So dealing with the fear of operations or the fear of going out and into the community, or it was always something that was there in the background. And to me, it's always been that sort of working out the balancing act of if it's worthwhile pursuing. It doesn't matter about the negativity or the consequences of people judging. It's that sort of life goals and that sort of quality of life aspect that I really focus on, and sort of constantly balancing the scales, I guess you could say. And if it's something really worthwhile pursuing in my life, could be as simple as going out today into a crowded environment where I know it'll potentially be dangerous. As I said, I love sporting events, so I'm never one to turn back an offer to go to the State of Origin or to go to a World Cup sporting event where there's 50,000 people, 100,000 people. From the outside, that's a really dangerous situation for me. Risk of getting my feet stood on or getting trampled in a crowded event or getting pushed around when you're trying to get to your seat or wherever. It's huge. Even going out when I was younger, going out partying to nightclubs and going out drinking with friends, that risk of being in unfamiliar environment and being in potentially unsafe circumstances, so that fear is always there. But to me, it's always weighing up the balancing act of if it's worthwhile, if it's something I'm really going to enjoy, if it's something that I want to achieve, a goal that that I want to set, or a goal that's achievable and within reach, then you've got to throw everything at it. You've got to risk that fear of damage, fear of health, fear of life and death, because the rewards outweigh the negatives. And that's sort of how I've tried to base every big decision on, that sort of reward versus negative side effects. My goal in life is to try to share my story with as many people as possible and inspire people that are finding whatever elements in their life overwhelming or difficult and struggling to get by. So when I was invited to share my story today, I thought it was a great opportunity to talk about the good times, talk about the bad times, show a real glimpse into my life and try to inspire people that may be struggling with whatever aspect of their life that they're struggling with at the time, and hopefully inspire people to fight for the next day and fight to make the next day a little bit better than the previous day, and fight towards achieving their dreams and never allowing the outside influences to get them down.